Hello friends, welcome back for another video. So today we are going to be making a 1950s style Valentine's Day dress. And this essentially came to me when I saw a beautiful long tablecloth at the thrift store that had like this bow brocade fabric print on it. And it was so subtle but so vibrantly red. And for me, I know some people are like pinks on Valentine's Day. I love it, but for me, if I'm going to choose between pink and red, 100% I'm going to choose red. I think it's such a bold color and so fierce and passionate that I think it's perfect for something like Valentine's Day. And we don't typically celebrate it in like a big way. We'll maybe do dinner or whatever. Sometimes my husband will send me flowers or edible arrangements, which I prefer because I would rather have food than flowers any day of the week. So for this year, I wanted to try and make a dress before Valentine's Day and be able to actually wear it. So I have the bow fabric, which I'm hoping to use with this McCall's pattern, which I'm going for the green variation. So the bow pattern should pretty much be the skirt and that little like cummerbund belt area and the collar. And I searched for other thrifted fabric for the bodice and I just could not find anything that had enough fabric, was a good enough match with such vibrant red. Like everything I found was either like a off-putting color match, like it wasn't red enough, or it was like fire truck red rather than being like a cherry red. It was really difficult to find exactly what I was looking for. So I did cave and I purchased fashion fabric just for the bodice and the sleeves. And it's this like medium-sized rose print that has almost the exact same color red in it. And I think it's going to look so cute together. I think the roses are really going to balance out that vibrant red coming from the like tablecloth. So that is the goal for today, and maybe more than today, who knows. You guys always end up seeing me in at least one or two different outfits from different days, so it may take me more than a single day. But I have already cut out the skirt and waistband from the bow fabric. I did that over the weekend when I was just feeling kind of low energy and crummy. I decided to do the tedious stuff. So the skirt and the waist detail and collar are all set to go. The only thing that I have to do before we start sewing is the bodice. And with the bodice, I did my first mock-up already, and I had originally shortened the waist because I have a smaller waist to like leg ratio, which often leads to something called like petite alterations. And so I did the waist thinking maybe that would take care of everything. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's go ahead and get started and see how far we can get today. We essentially just have the bodice patterns ready and need to be cut out. So the back piece is fine. I didn't have to do much outside of matching that shoulder alteration, taking it in, and then the sleeve and the sleeve facing. The one that really kind of got Frankensteined was the front bodice pattern. And so essentially I did the same thing where I took the like width down, but then added some height to it. And then I folded over the pattern so that it took out some of the fabric up here. And I shortened the pattern on the shortened line. And because this is like a vintage reproduction, they have each pattern piece as a different size, which is typically how vintage patterns work, is you would buy a single size and then go from there. So because of that, I essentially layered the 14 and the 16 on top of each other, and we'll be using the 16 dart and the 14 dart on the side, if that makes sense. So there's a dart on the bottom that I'll use for the 16 and then keep this one as a 14. And that's just, again, because my bust and my waist differ a little bit in measurements. And so that was kind of like the first step. And then I did all of the weird like shortening and lengthening. I'm going to go ahead and try and get a mock-up done. I may or may not show you guys the end result, I feel like mock-ups are kind of hard to like throw on and show because I tend to do them, you know, without anything else on. So at the very minimum, I'll show you guys that I have done a mock-up, and then we'll start working on the actual fabric parts. Okay, so I have cut out the front panel of the bodice on the fashion fabric, and I am now going to draw in the little darts. And so I have my little mock-up. It seems to fit quite well, but I guess we'll find out if it stays true throughout the entire rest of the process. It's hard sometimes to figure it out when you're impatient, but I just had to get new heat erasable markers or pens because my other ones kind of died on me. That one included. So thankfully I thought of that before starting this project, or else that would have been a really big bummer. Okay, so the bust darts are now drawn in, and I'm just going to pin them so that they are ready like I did last time. I just like to have them ready to go. So it looks like when we have the darts pinned, the pattern actually looks still quite nice. It doesn't cut off too much of the flowers, which I was a little nervous about. But I'm going to finish this up real quick, and then I will meet you guys back here. Okay, so now I have all of the bodice pieces cut out from the like floral rose fabric. And the next step is to essentially baste some rickrack across the top and edge of the little cummerbund kind of style wraparound piece. All I have is really small rickrack, and it's supposed to technically be medium, so I'm not sure if this is going to turn out or not. It's the only one I could find that was like an off-white ivory, and it wasn't super yellow. It was like a true just off-white. That matched the rose fabric. So I'm just going to try with one side and see if that works out. And if it doesn't, then I might just leave it out altogether, especially because the tablecloth fabric is pretty easy to fray. And so I don't want to do a lot of seam ripping and like trying things and not trying things. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot with this one. And then I'll meet you guys back here and either show you the end result of that or show you what it looks like without the little rickrack lacing. But I think it could be a cute way to add a little vintage flair to the dress. And of course, you got to do that when you can. Okay, so we have our little cummerbund piece attached to the bodice. So if I just drape it on myself, you can kind of see the idea slowly coming together. So that's good. And essentially we set these pieces off to the side for now and start working on the center backs, which are these pieces here. What happens is you end up folding these, I think, over, and it ends up being like a button closure on top or something. So I'm going to do the darts on the back, get everything pressed, and then work on constructing the back. And that essentially is just doing, like I said, those two things, and then also adding the back piece, which I decided to match with the cummerbund. So the back is going to be essentially like roses, and then the little cummerbund will go all the way around the back. So that way it really is just the top bodice part that looks like a shirt, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My sewing menace has arrived, and he comes with tons of snuggles. Okay, so the back is essentially finished. I have it attached to the front bodice at the shoulders, and it just has this little back panel, and I decided not to add rickrack here. It says you can in the pattern, but I decided that since it's such a small rickrack that I'll leave it for the front detailing, and the back will look just kind of nice. And so then I moved on to the collar. So the collar is finished, and it has little rickrack too. Essentially what needs to happen now is I need to sew everything together, including this bias tape binding, and then flip the bias tape binding into the inside to essentially finish that collar seam up. And so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Once we're done doing that, then it's essentially finishing the side seams, and it's a side zipper. So we're only gonna be doing one side and leaving the other one open, so that way when we attach the skirt we can have a little side zipper, but you can kind of see a bodice take form. So I'm going to go ahead and do the little collar, and then I'll meet you guys back here, and we'll see about at least attaching one side of the bodice so that we can try it on and see how we like it. Okay, so we are at the point of the first little try-on for the bodice. So it's a side seam, so I just have these kind of pinned together loosely. But this seam is finished, and I think it matches up quite well. And once I have the hooks and eyes ready for the back and the collar, I think the collar looks nice and has cute little detailing. And of course, we'll have our little decorative buttons. I'm going to do those at the end because these aren't tacked together yet. So, you know me. Just wanted to pop in and show some progress, but I'm really loving the roses with the bows. So, hopefully it continues to turn out, but I'm really liking it so far. Okay, so now that the bodice is done, I have started working on the skirt essentially, which is just a bunch of rectangles that I've sewn together. So it's like a never-ending rectangle. Where I had to attach the rectangles, I decided to do like a flat felt seam just so that it's nice, which essentially is like cutting one edge short and then double folding the other over it and then stitching it so that it looks nice. And I did that because this fabric is really prone to fraying and I want to be able to wear this for a long time. So I thought that was probably the easiest option to make it look clean and neat that I am currently, sergerless. So I have left the left side open, same as the bodice. And essentially I just need to gather the skirt at the top and attach it to the bodice and put a zipper in. Okay, so I got a little sweaty, so hair is put into braids, trying to relieve that. I don't know about you guys, but when I am sewing, I feel like I just went for an hour walk outside. Like it just is I'm so sweaty all the time. Anyways, so I have essentially run a couple machine stitches, like my longest stitch in very low tension, and I'm starting to gather the skirt by pulling on the strings. And I thought that I would sit down and this would be a nice time to chat just a little bit. I feel like this video has been very, not instructional, but like step by step and less chatty than some of my other videos that I've done. And I actually would love to know what format you guys prefer. Like, do you guys like the videos where I'm chatting more? Or are you primarily here just to watch me sew, which is totally cool. That's essentially why I make them, is so that I actually sew. But I also like chatting and talking and discussing stuff and all of my future projects, thinking about things and life. Love, tribulations. If you end up watching this video and you're one of my subscribers, just let me know what format you guys like the most. And if you like both, I'm happy to do both, obviously, throughout my different projects, and which ones might need more instruction since it's not something I've done before. But I feel like at some point it's gonna get repetitive if I continue to make skirts and dresses, which is typically what I wear. And I am primarily interested in making stuff that is functional and that I'll actually use. I don't really see the purpose in just making stuff to make stuff. And so, yeah, just let me know what you guys think and what you like best when it comes to video format and how chatty I am. I've definitely gotten a couple comments where it's like, oh, you're not showing what you're doing, and I get it, but it's definitely not meant to be a tutorial. This is more of like a vlog style, like just watch me sew and work on my projects, because I definitely don't feel qualified to provide tutorials. I'm not like this experienced sewist. I'm literally just learning day by day, year by year on how to make my own clothes and essentially make a design that's in my head come to life. And so that's kind of the purpose of my whole channel, is just documenting that sewing progress and journey and trying new things like fitting a, bodice piece before actually sewing and that kind of stuff. My newest project has arrived. I had you guys actually vote over on the community channel which one you wanted to see first. The majority of you, I think, as of today, have said that you would prefer to see this project, the Valentine's Day dress. The other one is a like leather leaf bag. It's like a belt bag that you essentially attach to a belt, like a typical belt bag, not like a fanny pack or anything like that. And it's absolutely adorable. I've seen a lot of like people selling them on Etsy, and there's like that one brand that does leaf bags that are not made from leather. They're made from like a sustainable plant material. I'm unsure what that is, but those look cool. I am kind of interested in that like sustainable leaf bag though, because I feel like that whatever they use for that is different than like pleather. It's like actual plant stuff, so it might actually last longer, and that would be a cool thing to actually have in the marketplace. And so I'm glad they're doing it. But I wanted to try my hand at leatherworking a little, branch out and try something new. So I am interested in that, and it'll be cool to see whether or not I can actually pull it off. As you can see, it's taking a decent amount of time. I haven't even gotten through half of it yet, but I felt like, again, this video was just getting a little instructional rather than like vloggy chatty with me, and I wanted to fix that a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on this, and then I will see you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so we are back on day 2 of the Valentine's Day dress. I told you guys it probably wasn't gonna be one. I rarely ever finish a project in one day, but I did get super close. So the dress is turning out quite cute, I think. So we have the collar, and that's finished. Essentially, we just have to do hooks and eyes in the back. This part is put together. I just need to put the buttons on. So the rest of the dress is turning out great. I put in the side zipper, and honestly, it matches up essentially as well as you could get. Let's see if I can show y'all. So that's where the zipper stops, and then you can kind of just open it up. So that was actually my first time putting in a zipper on the side rather than the back, but honestly, it's the exact same process. So now it's time to move on to the sleeves. So I have my little sleeves cut out, and I'm just going to essentially sew them together, flip them right side out, and then start attaching them. I also have some sleeve facings, which is going to be used to kind of like finish the hem, I'm assuming. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then essentially we will be ready for the reveal. I don't think you guys need to see me essentially hem it, but the sleeves are the last step before I do the finishing touches, and I am excited for how this is turning out. It's very sweet, it's very romantic, and it feels very feminine. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I will see you guys at the reveal. Okay, so quick wrap up on the Valentine's Day 50s dress. And honestly, I think it turned out exactly how I was hoping. I'm on a really good streak right now where I feel like all of my projects are going well. Knock on wood, over here. But there are a couple things I would change. So I feel like the bodice alterations that I did worked out really well and ended up fitting much better than just like the commercial pattern straight out of the packet would. I think that it would have been a disaster had I not done those alterations in the first 2 mock-ups. But I still feel like there was an extra amount of room in the arms. So I feel like I should have done maybe like raising the arm scythe a little and taking out some fabric from the bust area to make it fit a little bit better. And I think that the fabric that I ended up using, the thrifted like tablecloth, was just a little too thick for the project. Like I feel like it added a lot of unnecessary bulk at the waist, and my waist seams kind of dipped down a little on the sides. So I would definitely change that on the pattern for next time. And honestly, there was enough room in there, and I said it last video, probably should have just done the 14. But when I looked at the like finished garment measurements, the 14 was a 30-inch waist, which I'm closer to like 31, 32 right now. And so I went with the 16, which is 32, but there was still probably an inch that I could have taken out. So I might have to attempt to grade the waist down by an inch, so a ½ inch on each side, so that way it fits a bit more naturally to my shape. But otherwise, I think the alterations were perfect and everything else fit quite well, and I'm very happy with the outcome. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this week's video, even if you're not big into Valentine's Day like me, but you just love an opportunity to dress up and wear fun colors like red and pink and celebrate love. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys hopefully next week with another video. Otherwise, I will see you soon.